I'm 35, a father of two, and apparently the invisible branch of my family tree. My name's Nathan, and I've spent most of my adult life being the one who smooths things over. The peacekeeper. The one who understands when my mom forgets my birthday but flies out for my sister's cat's adoption party. Yeah, that kind of family. My parents divorced when I was 12. Mom got custody of my sister, Claire, and me, but she always treated us like we were living in two different worlds. Claire was her golden girl, the dancer, the dreamer, the one who deserved to see the world. I was the practical one, the kid who got told, "You're so responsible, Nathan, you'll understand." Which was code for, "You'll get less because we expect you to handle it." And like a fool, I did. Fast forward to now. I've got two kids, Eli, who's 8, and Sophie, who's 6, and a wife who's way too patient with my family's nonsense. We both work hard, live comfortably, and try to keep our distance from drama. But somehow, every time my mom and sister get together, chaos finds me like it's got a GPS signal. The last straw began with one of Mom's family bonding ideas. She texted a big, cheerful message in the family group chat titled Family Vacation, finally, with more exclamation points than any sane person would use. Attached was a photo of a stunning beachfront resort. White sand, turquoise water, palm trees, the whole paradise package. Claire replied first, of course. Yes, I need this so bad after my breakup. Mom followed up immediately. I thought it'd be perfect for all of us. We'll finally spend some quality time together again. Now, I should have known that all of us didn't actually include all of us. I asked the normal dad questions: how many rooms, what dates, how much would we owe, and whether they had stuff for the kids to do. Mom said she was using the shared travel account Dad had set up before he passed. Money meant to help with family trips or emergencies. I didn't question it much. It was one of those accounts we all technically had access to but rarely used. "Don't worry," Mom said on the phone, her tone airy and sweet. "It's all taken care of. You just pack and show up." It felt nice, actually. For once, I thought maybe Mom wanted us there, not as an afterthought, but as part of the family. My wife, Lena, even said, maybe things are finally changing. We started getting the kids excited. They picked out swimsuits, talked about building sandcastles, and asked if Grandma would take them snorkeling. It was wholesome until the text that shattered it. 3 weeks before the trip, I got a call from Claire. "Hey, Nate, random question. What room did Mom put you guys in?" "What do you mean?" I asked. "Didn't she say she booked the whole thing?" "She did," Claire said, lowering her voice. "But she told me she only reserved 3 rooms. One for her, one for me and Jason, and one for Aunt Debbie and Uncle Paul." I froze. "What about me, Lena, and the kids?" "Dunno," she said with a little laugh. "Maybe you're all bunking together in the hallway?" When I called Mom, she acted like I was the crazy one. "Oh, Nathan, don't make this a thing," she said, that performative sigh in her voice. "The resort didn't have enough rooms left. You can just join later or find something nearby." "You said it was for everyone," I reminded her, my voice tight. "It is, sweetie," she replied, too cheerfully. "But I couldn't exclude your sister. She's been through so much lately. You understand, right?" "Right." Because my sister's bad breakup meant my kids couldn't sleep in a bed. Lena overheard half the call and looked at me, wide-eyed. "Wait, so they're going without us?" Mom tried to smooth it over. "Why don't you come for the second half of the trip? Or maybe next year we'll plan something bigger." The next day, photos started appearing in the group chat. My mom, my sister, her boyfriend, and my aunt and uncle. Cocktails in hand, beach smiles, captions like, "Finally, family time." My kids saw one over my shoulder at breakfast. Sophie frowned. "Daddy, where's Grandma? Is she already at the beach?" I tried to play it off. "Yeah, honey. She just went early. Why didn't she take us?" That question hit harder than I expected. I didn't have an answer that wouldn't sound cruel. By day 3, it wasn't just beach selfies. They were tagging restaurants, posting stories about jet skiing and dinner under the stars, Claire gushing. "Best family vacation ever, 2 hearts." I scrolled through the pictures, jaw tight. They looked so proud of themselves. And not one text, not one call asking how my kids felt being left behind. Then I noticed something weird. One of the screenshots Mom sent to the group chat showed part of a receipt, paid via a shared travel account, ref number 8824. The same account Dad had left in all our names. That night, Lena and I sat in bed, the kids asleep, the glow of my phone lighting up her face. "You're telling me they used our shared money for this trip?" she asked, her voice calm but deadly. "Looks like it," I said. "And guess who manages that account?" "Mom." Lena's eyes narrowed. "So we basically paid for them to exclude our kids." I laughed bitterly. "Yep. And they didn't even try to hide it." For the next couple of days, I tried to let it go. I told myself it wasn't worth it. But every time I saw another post, a sunset dinner, my mom captioning, "So grateful for my family," something in me cracked a little more. The final straw came when Claire sent a photo to the group chat of my mom holding a coconut drink. She'd captioned it, "Grandma of the Year." Eli saw it. "She's Grandma of the Year?" "But she didn't even come to my school concert," he said quietly. That one broke me. I walked out to the porch, took a deep breath, and opened my laptop. The shared account was right there, still accessible. I checked the transaction history. Resort booking, restaurant prepayments, car rentals, all charged through it. All refundable. All under my name as co-owner. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then my phone buzzed again. Another photo from the beach, Claire and Jason clinking glasses, Mom smiling like she'd just won something. I don't even remember clicking cancel. It was instinctive. Refund requested. Reservation gone. Flights refunded. Car rentals canceled. Within minutes, I got confirmation emails, money flowing back into the account. Then I transferred the balance to my personal card. A half hour later, the group chat exploded. "What did you do?" Claire wrote first. "Mom's crying. They're saying the hotel won't let them check in." Then Mom called. Twice. Then 3 times. I didn't answer. When I finally picked up, her voice was trembling, not from sadness, but fury. "Nathan, you just ruined the entire trip." I leaned back in my chair, watching the refund confirmation emails roll in. "You said it was for everyone," I told her calmly. "It was," she yelled. But you didn't have enough rooms for my kids," I interrupted. "Guess you don't have enough rooms for anything now." There was a pause on the line. Then she whispered, "You wouldn't." I smiled, even though she couldn't see it. "Already did." And before she could respond, I hung up. That was the moment everything changed, but I hadn't realized just how deep the fallout would go. Because an hour later, my sister called, screaming through the phone, her voice echoing with the chaos of their ruined vacation. "Nathan, you just ruined the whole trip," she shrieked. And I replied, "Ruined it." I repeated, leaning back in my chair. "No, Claire. I think I just made it fair." Her voice cracked through the speaker, raw and furious. "You can't just cancel something everyone's counting on. We've been planning this for months." Mom's devastated. I rubbed my forehead, trying to stay calm. "You mean the trip you all planned without us? The one where you didn't even book a room for my family?" "That one." "That's not the point," she snapped. "Mom didn't mean to exclude you. She thought it'd be too chaotic with your kids there. You know how they are, always running around, touching everything." "Claire," I interrupted, my voice dropping. "They're 6 and 8, not feral animals." She scoffed. "You're overreacting. Mom just wanted a relaxing trip for once. You could have come later or stayed nearby." "Right," I said flatly. "So my kids could watch their grandma post beach photos while pretending we're part of the family." There was a long silence before she muttered, "You've always had a way of making things about you." And there it was, the sentence I'd heard my whole life. When Claire hung up, I just sat there, staring at my phone. Lena walked in a minute later, holding a mug of tea. "That was her." "Yeah," I said quietly. "According to Claire, it's my fault they planned a family vacation that didn't include us." Lena sighed, setting the mug down beside me. "It's always your fault with them." She was right. It always was. By evening, the group chat had turned into a full meltdown. Mom was sending paragraphs, long, guilt-laden paragraphs, about betrayal and how could you do this to your own family. My aunt chimed in with passive-aggressive emojis, and my uncle, bless him, just wrote, "Let's all calm down." The funny thing? No one once said sorry. Not once. The next day, I woke up to 10 missed calls from Mom. Then a voicemail. I hesitated, but I listened. "Nathan," she began, her voice trembling dramatically. "I just don't understand why you do something so cruel. We were finally having a nice time, and now everyone's blaming me. You've humiliated your sister in front of Jason's family. I hope you're happy." I wasn't. I wasn't happy at all. I was angry, tired, and mostly disappointed, because even after all that, she still found a way to make herself the victim. By noon, she sent another text. We managed to rebook some rooms using our own cards, but it's costing a fortune. I hope you realize what you've done. You're not the only one struggling, Nathan. Some of us have had a rough year. That part made me laugh, bitterly. A rough year? Claire had just bought a new car 2 months ago. My mom had gone on a cruise in April. Meanwhile, Lena and I were juggling bills and saving for the kids' school trip. Still, a part of me felt bad. Not guilty, but heavy. I opened the photos again. Mom's smile, Claire's perfect poses, the sunlight glinting off the water, and felt a sharp ache in my chest. I didn't want to be the villain. I just wanted fairness. Later that afternoon, Lena's phone buzzed. It was a message from my mom. She showed it to me without saying a word. Lena, I know you're reasonable. Can you please talk some sense into Nathan? He's always been emotional when it comes to family matters. We just wanted some peace. Please convince him to send the money back so we can finish the vacation. I stared at it, jaw tightening. She's trying to go around me now. Lena raised an eyebrow. Oh, she's been doing that for years, hasn't she? She wasn't wrong. My mom had a long history of triangulating. If she didn't like what one person said, she'd go to someone else. When I was a kid, she'd do it between Claire and me. If Claire misbehaved, Mom would whisper, "Don't tell your sister I'm upset. She's sensitive." If I asked for something, she'd tell Claire, "Your brother's always been so demanding." I didn't realize how twisted that was until adulthood. Over the next few days, the calls and messages didn't stop. They escalated. "Claire, you've turned everyone against us. Do you even care that Mom's crying? Jason's parents think we're broke now. You made us look ridiculous. Mom, I never should have let you near that account. Your father would be ashamed. If you had any decency, you'd fix this before it's too late." The last one stung more than I expected. Dad would be ashamed. He'd been gone 6 years, but that line hit like a dart. He was the only one who'd ever made me feel seen in that family. When he died, Mom took control of the finances and the so-called family fund. She promised to use it fairly, for family trips, emergencies, and shared expenses. I'd trusted her. Turns out, she'd just been quietly using it for her favorites. Out of curiosity, I started digging through the account's history. My stomach turned. There were charges going back 2 years, flights, hotel stays, spa retreats, even a wellness getaway Claire took last summer. All from the shared account. None of it ever included us. Lena leaned over my shoulder as I scrolled. "You've got to be kidding me. Look, there's a payment to Claire's boyfriend's gym." Sure enough, there it was. A $420 charge from 6 months ago. Something inside me clicked. This wasn't just favoritism. It was theft dressed as family bonding. That evening, I decided to talk to Mom one last time. She picked up on the first ring. "Nathan," she said, her voice trembling just enough to sound fragile. "Please, we're finally getting settled again, but you have to send that money back. You have no idea how embarrassing this has been." "Mom," I said slowly, "how many times have you used the family account for vacations that didn't include us?" There was a pause. "What are you talking about? Don't lie to me." I checked the records. Her tone hardened immediately. "That account was meant for family use." "Exactly," I said. "Family. As in all of us." "Don't twist things," she snapped. "You've always been so sensitive about these matters. You know how much harder things have been for your sister. She's single again. She needs support." "Support," I repeated. "Like the spa weekends? The wine tours? The gym membership?" Silence. I could almost hear her brain scrambling for a new angle. Finally, she sighed. "You know what? Fine. Maybe I should have asked. But it's not like you've ever needed it, Nathan. You've always been fine. You have a house, a family, a good job. Why can't you just let me take care of Claire for once?" There it was again. That twisted logic. Because I was fine. I didn't deserve fairness. "Mom," I said, my voice shaking slightly. "Do you realize how it feels for my kids to see those photos and wonder why Grandma didn't want them? Eli cried last night. Sophie asked if they did something wrong. I didn't mean for them to feel that way," she said softly. "But you're making this worse. You could have just talked to me before doing something so extreme." "I did talk to you," I reminded her. "You told me there wasn't enough room." She hesitated, then muttered, "I didn't think you'd take it so personally." At that point, I just laughed. I couldn't help it. "So excluding your grandkids from a family trip isn't personal?" "You're twisting my words again," she snapped. "You always do this. You make everything dramatic." I'd reached my limit. Goodbye, Mom. Before she could speak again, I ended the call. That night, Lena found me sitting on the couch, staring at the blank TV screen. You okay? She asked quietly. I nodded slowly. Yeah, just tired. I think I finally see them for who they are. But things didn't stop there. Over the next few days, the tension spilled beyond the family chat. My aunt posted a vague Facebook status about selfish people who ruin everything. Claire's boyfriend commented with a laughing emoji. And my mom. She texted my cousin to pray for family healing and sent me a link to an article titled The Cost of Holding Grudges. Then came the message that pushed everything into a new level of insanity. It was from my mom again, but this time it wasn't guilt, it was threat. Since you've chosen to behave this way, I think it's best we reevaluate your access to the account. I'll be contacting the bank tomorrow. I read it 3 times. Then I smiled slowly, because she didn't know I'd already spoken to the bank hours earlier, and what I'd found out would change everything. When I woke up the next morning, I had that uneasy pit in my stomach, the one you get when you know something's about to go very wrong, but you don't know how bad it'll be yet. Lena was already up, sitting at the kitchen table with her laptop open. The smell of coffee filled the air, but her expression told me the day wasn't starting well. Your mom posted something, she said, sliding her phone toward me. My heart sank before I even looked. It was a Facebook post, a long one. My mom had always been one of those people who shared her private grievances like they were public service announcements. And this one was no different. The post started with, I never thought I'd have to say this publicly, but sometimes even family can break your heart. We planned a beautiful trip meant to bring everyone closer, and one person's bitterness ruined it for everyone. Some people can't stand seeing others happy. Below it was a picture of the beach with the caption, Forgiveness is free. Pride is expensive. Hundreds of likes, comments from her church friends saying things like, stay strong, dear, and you don't deserve this. My aunt even chimed in with a praying hands emoji and a heart. But what really twisted the knife was a comment from Claire. You did your best, Mom. Some people just can't handle not being the center of attention. Lena looked at me carefully, waiting for my reaction. I just sat there, silent. My jaw clenched, my chest tight. It wasn't just a public humiliation, it was a rewriting of reality. They were painting me as the villain. By lunchtime, I'd gotten 3 texts from family members who hadn't spoken to me in months. One said, you should really apologize to your mom. Another asked, why would you ruin her vacation like that? None of them knew the full story. Of course they didn't. Because my mom and sister were spinning it faster than I could catch up. Lena squeezed my shoulder. You don't owe them anything, Nate. I know, I muttered. But this is different. She's dragging my name through the mud. In front of everyone. I tried to ignore it. Really, I did. But the texts kept coming. My cousin Hannah messaged, hey, your mom's really upset. She said you stole from her account. Stole. I repeated out loud. Lena frowned. Wait, what? I opened the message and scrolled up. Hannah continued. She told everyone at Aunt Debbie's dinner that you emptied the family fund. Said you took it all and left them stranded. People are saying you've changed since you got money. That was the moment I realized just how far Mom was willing to go. Not only had she twisted the truth, she'd flipped it completely. That night, I got an email from the bank. It wasn't from my personal banker, but from the branch manager. My pulse quickened as I opened it. Dear Mr. Cole, we've received a request from a co-owner, Ms. Margaret Cole, to freeze the shared travel account due to reported unauthorized transactions. As per policy, we have temporarily restricted access until the matter is resolved. Please contact our office within 48 hours to verify your activity. I just stared at the screen. She filed a fraud claim, I whispered. Against me. Lena looked up from the couch, her expression shifting from disbelief to anger. You've got to be kidding. No, I said quietly. She's trying to make it look like I stole from them. The irony was almost too perfect. The same woman who'd siphoned off that account for years was now accusing me of theft. I spent the next morning on the phone with the bank. The woman on the other end was polite but cautious. Mr. Cole, we just need to confirm your authorization for the recent transfers, she said. I was a co-owner, I explained. I have every right to make those transactions. You can check the account contract. My name's on it. I understand, she said, typing something in the background. However, Ms. Cole stated you acted without consensus, and she has supporting statements from other family members on the account. My stomach dropped. What other family members? Ms. Claire Cole and Mr. Paul Reynolds. My aunt and uncle. Of course, the same two people who'd benefited from the trips. I hung up the phone feeling like the air had been sucked out of the room. Lena sat beside me, rubbing my back. They're ganging up on you. You knew they'd do this. Yeah, I muttered. But I didn't think they'd stoop this low. She hesitated. What are you going to do? I didn't answer right away. Instead, I pulled out my laptop and started gathering everything. Screenshots of messages, transaction histories, account contracts, even the original email from the bank when my dad added my name to the fund. My hands were shaking, but my focus was sharp. They wanted a war. Fine. 2 hours later, I got another text from Mom. You're making things worse for yourself, Nathan. The bank will take this seriously. You should have thought before taking what isn't yours. I typed back, but didn't send it right away. I wanted to say something cutting, something final. But the truth was, I didn't want to give her any more ammunition. Instead, I deleted the draft and set the phone down. But she wasn't done. That evening, while I was helping Eli with his homework, my phone buzzed again. It was a notification. Someone had tagged me in a Facebook post. My heart sank as soon as I saw the preview. It was a photo of me and Mom from years ago, back when things were still good. She'd written, "Sometimes you give everything to your children, and they take it all anyway. I don't know how a mother moves on from this kind of betrayal. Pray for us." Thousands of reactions. Dozens of comments. People writing things like, "No child should treat their mother that way," and "Stay strong, Margaret." Claire commented again, "You're the strongest person I know. He doesn't deserve you." And that was it. That was the moment something inside me broke. I'd spent years tolerating the favoritism, the backhanded compliments, the guilt trips. But this was a public execution of my character. My mom wasn't just punishing me anymore. She was trying to erase me. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about my dad, how he'd trusted her to manage that account fairly. He'd been meticulous with money, always leaving paper trails, always balancing the books. And then it hit me. Dad used to back up everything. He had kept digital copies of every document related to their finances. The next morning, I dug out an old external hard drive from the box of his things in the attic. It took forever to boot up, but when it finally did, I felt my pulse quicken. There it was, a folder labeled Family Finances. Inside were dozens of scanned PDFs, wills, account forms, even handwritten notes. And right there, in black and white, was a document labeled Travel Fund Agreement, 2017. The file stated, "This account shall be co-owned by Nathan Cole and Margaret Cole. Both parties retain equal rights to deposit and withdraw. No transactions shall be deemed unauthorized by either party." I exhaled slowly. Relief and fury mixed in my chest. She couldn't claim I'd stolen anything. She couldn't even pretend it wasn't mine too. I forwarded the file to the bank with a brief note. Attached is the original account agreement signed by both co-owners. All transactions were made within my rights. Please reinstate full access immediately. I hit send, then sat back. It should have ended there. It should have been simple. But an hour later, Claire called again, this time sobbing. "Why would you drag Dad into this?" she demanded between tears. "You're ruining Mom's reputation. You sent that file to the bank." "Claire, that file proves I didn't steal anything," I said, trying to stay calm. "You're humiliating her," she cried. "Do you know how many people saw that post? She's getting messages from the church, from her friends. Everyone thinks she's a liar now." "Then maybe she shouldn't have lied," I said quietly. There was silence on the other end. Then her voice turned cold. "You're dead to us." Click. I just sat there for a moment, staring at the phone screen. My chest hurt, but it wasn't shock anymore. It was something heavier. The kind of pain you feel when a door that's always been cracked finally slams shut. Lena walked in, holding 2 mugs. "What happened?" "They cut me off," I said simply. "Completely." She set the mugs down gently, then sat beside me. "Maybe that's a good thing." "Maybe," I said softly. "But I think they're not done yet." And I was right. Because 2 days later, I got a letter in the mail, a certified one, from an attorney. It was from my mother. She was suing me for restitution of misappropriated funds and emotional distress. And as I stood there in my kitchen, holding that letter, one thought kept repeating in my head, loud, steady, and cold. She really wants to destroy me. But what she didn't know was that she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life. The next week felt like watching my life unravel in slow motion. The lawsuit wasn't just a piece of paper. It was a grenade lobbed right into the middle of my family, my job, and my peace of mind. I kept the letter folded on my desk, staring at the words misappropriated funds, as if reading them enough times would make them less absurd. I'd never been sued before. I'd never even had a parking ticket. And now, my own mother was accusing me of theft and emotional damage. Lena tried to stay strong, but I could see the strain in her face. She was the calm one between us, the voice of reason, but this time, she looked shaken. "We can fight it," she said one night, sitting beside me with her laptop open, looking up legal aid options. "You have proof, Nate. You have Dad's files. You did everything by the book." "I know," I said quietly, rubbing my temples. "But you know what they say, truth doesn't matter as much as the story people believe." And my mom's story? Oh, she was telling it everywhere. She'd become a master of selective storytelling. At church, she told her friends her son had drained the account his late father left for the family. To relatives, she said I'd taken advantage of her generosity. To anyone who'd listen online, she posted vague updates about forgiveness and learning who truly loves you. The comments poured in, full of sympathy and outrage. How could a son do that? "Stay strong, Margaret. Some people only care about money." I'd scroll through them at night, my chest tightening, my thumb hovering over the reply button. But Lena always stopped me. "Don't feed it," she'd whisper. "You're not going to win them back by arguing. Let her talk. You focus on the facts." Easier said than done. Even at work, the tension followed me. My boss, a kind but blunt guy named Rick, called me into his office. "I don't like bringing personal stuff into this," he said, closing the door. "But I've had 2 people mention a Facebook post about family fraud. Is that something you need to handle?" I wanted to sink through the floor. "It's not true," I said quickly. "It's a family matter. My mother's, well, she's making things up." Rick nodded, uncomfortable. "Look, I believe you. But maybe lay low on social media for a while, yeah?" That was the moment I realized how much damage a lie could do before the truth ever got its shoes on. The next few weeks blurred together. Court filings, calls from the bank, lawyer consultations that made my stomach hurt when I saw the hourly rates. My mom wasn't just being vindictive, she was being strategic. She'd convinced 2 relatives to act as co-claimants, giving her lawsuit weight. Meanwhile, the bank froze the account indefinitely until the case was resolved. It didn't matter that I'd sent them the signed agreement, or that Dad had explicitly stated both parties had equal rights. Until the legal process ran its course, that money was untouchable. It wasn't just about the money anymore, though. It was the humiliation, the betrayal, the idea that the woman who used to tuck me into bed, who used to tell me I was her rock after Dad died, was now trying to ruin me publicly and financially. Lena caught me one night staring at my dad's old watch, the one he'd given me before he passed. "You're thinking about him again," she said softly. "Yeah," I said. "He'd be furious if he saw this." She nodded. "But he'd be proud of you, too. You're not screaming, you're not sinking to her level. You're holding steady." I smiled faintly. For now. But the truth was, I was starting to crack. The worst part wasn't the lawsuit. It was the silence from the rest of my family. People I'd grown up with, my cousins, my aunt, even my godmother, stopped calling. Some unfriended me online. Others avoided me entirely. The only message I got came from my cousin Hannah, the one who'd warned me earlier. "I don't know what's true anymore, Nate. But you should know Mom and Claire have been telling everyone you hacked the account. They said the bank's investigating for fraud." Hacked. Fraud. Words I never thought would be attached to my name. Lena saw me reading the message and took my phone gently from my hand. "Enough," she said. "You're torturing yourself. You can't keep letting them live rent-free in your head." I wanted to agree. I wanted to let go. But part of me couldn't. Because it wasn't just about what they were saying. It was about the fact that they thought they could get away with it. Again, I started waking up early, before the kids, before the noise of the day. I'd sit in the quiet of the living room, laptop open, organizing every scrap of evidence. Screenshots, receipts, emails from the bank, timestamps from the refund confirmations. It was obsessive, maybe, but it gave me something to control. And somewhere in that fog of exhaustion and anger, I started to notice patterns. Mom hadn't just been using the shared account for vacations. There were payments labeled consultation fees, renovation advance, wellness retreat, and even private donation. The amounts varied, $400 here, $1,200 there, but they added up. Tens of thousands. I clicked one entry from last year. Furniture payment, Claire. Then another. Flight upgrade, Paul. She'd been running her own little kingdom with that account, and now she wanted to make me the scapegoat. That realization changed something in me. The sadness started to fade, replaced by something colder, something sharper. I wasn't just going to defend myself anymore. I was going to expose everything. Lena noticed the shift before I said anything. "You've got that look," she said one morning, sipping her coffee. "The one you get right before you do something your family's not going to like." I smirked faintly. "They already don't like me." She tilted her head. "Fair. What are you planning?" "Nothing yet," I said, "but I'm done letting them control the story." The next few days, I went into quiet overdrive. I called the bank again, requested official transaction records, and even dug through old email receipts from my mom's address, some of which were still automatically forwarded to the shared inbox my dad had set up before he passed. And that's when I found the jackpot. An email from 3 years ago, subject line, "Travel Fund Withdrawal Confirmation." The body read, "Dear Mrs. Cole, your withdrawal of $9,400 has been processed successfully. Please note, co-owner Nathan Cole will be notified of any withdrawals exceeding $10,000. Meaning, she'd intentionally kept her withdrawals under 10 grand so I wouldn't be alerted. It was all there. The pattern, the manipulation, the deceit. I sat back in my chair, exhaling slowly. "You clever little fox," I muttered. "You've been doing this for years." Lena walked in, drying her hands on a dish towel. "What's that look?" I turned the laptop toward her. "Proof. Real proof. She's been skimming money under the limit that would have alerted me." Lena leaned in, reading carefully. "That's fraud, Nate." I nodded, and she accused me of it. That night, for the first time in months, I slept soundly. The next morning, I started taking quiet steps. I called a friend from college, Ben, a corporate attorney who owed me a favor. I explained everything, from the fake accusations to the hidden withdrawals. He listened patiently, then asked me to forward him the documents. "Nate," he said after a pause, "this isn't just a defense case anymore. What your mom did qualifies as misappropriation. If you wanted, you could countersue." The word hung in the air, countersue. I didn't respond right away. I wasn't sure I could stomach it. Suing my own mother felt wrong, no matter how justified it might be. But Ben wasn't finished. "You said she's been spreading false claims publicly, right? That's defamation, especially since it's affecting your work and finances. You could build a solid case." When I hung up, Lena was watching me from across the room. "Well, he says I have a case," I said quietly. "A strong one." She set her mug down and crossed her arms. "Then do it." I blinked. "You think I should sue my own mom?" Lena's voice softened, but her eyes stayed steady. "I think you should stop letting her destroy you." I didn't answer, but the decision was already forming somewhere deep inside me. For the next week, I played it calm. To everyone else, I looked like I was retreating, answering no calls, posting nothing, ignoring the noise. Mom must have thought she'd finally broken me. She probably told her friends, "Nathan's coming around. He knows he was wrong." But in reality, I was just waiting. Waiting for the bank's audit. Waiting for the documents from Ben. Waiting for the perfect moment to turn all of this around. And when that moment came, it wouldn't be loud. It wouldn't be dramatic. It would be surgical, because I wasn't interested in revenge for its own sake anymore. I wanted accountability. And for the first time in my life, I had the power to make that happen. Mom didn't know it yet, but the game had already shifted. I wasn't her quiet, forgiving son anymore. I was the storm she didn't see coming. When the storm finally started to take shape, it didn't begin with shouting or a grand gesture or even an email. It began with silence. For the first time in months, I didn't answer a single one of my mom's texts. I didn't open her voicemails. I didn't rise to the bait of her Facebook posts or her guilt trips through relatives. I just disappeared. That alone drove her crazy. I'd learned something crucial from watching her all these years. She thrived on control. If she could get you to defend yourself, she won. If she could get you angry, she won. If she could get you to apologize just to keep the peace, she really won. So I stopped playing. Instead, I focused entirely on what mattered, building the truth, brick by brick. Ben, my lawyer friend, was a godsend. "You've got a pattern of financial misconduct and public defamation," he said one night over video call, his tone calm and analytical. "That's not just a defense. That's leverage. He'd already reached out to the bank's legal department on my behalf, requesting a complete transaction record, not just from the last year, but since the account was opened. It took a week, but when it arrived, it was devastating. Dozens of questionable withdrawals. Thousands of dollars spent on things no one could reasonably argue were family-related. Plane tickets to Italy for wellness retreats. A $2,800 payment to a boutique in New York, labeled personal consulting. And buried between it all, a recurring $600 payment every month to something called Bright Horizons Retreats. Ben frowned as we went through the files together. "What's that?" "No idea," I said, typing it into Google. The search results made my stomach turn. It wasn't a retreat, it was a private rehab facility. One that catered to lifestyle exhaustion and discreet recovery. Lena leaned over my shoulder, frowning. "Isn't that where Claire went 2 years ago? When she said she was in Bali for a healing vacation?" I scrolled further down the records. The same charge appeared around that time. She hadn't gone to Bali. She'd gone to rehab, paid for by the family fund. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling slowly. "So that's why Mom was so desperate to keep that account quiet." Ben nodded. "This is a pattern of concealed withdrawals and misrepresentation. You can't overstate how serious this is. She used shared funds to pay for personal and third-party expenses under false pretenses. In other words, fraud." For days, I kept gathering more. I found email confirmations, matching dates, even receipts forwarded from Mom's address. One subject line read, "Payment received. Thank you for your continued stay with Bright Horizons." That was the nail in the coffin. Meanwhile, my mom must have sensed the shift, because she started reaching out again, this time with fake warmth. "Hi, sweetheart, I know things got out of hand, but maybe we should talk? Family shouldn't fight like this. Claire's still upset, but I think she'll come around once you apologize. Don't ruin what's left of our family over something so small." Something so small. Every message she sent chipped away at what little pity I had left. Still, I waited, because timing was everything. When the court summons finally came in the mail, I didn't panic. I smiled. The date was set for the following month. I had 4 weeks to turn everything around. Ben and I spent hours drafting our counterclaim. It wasn't just a defense, it was an offense. We included proof of her hidden withdrawals, the original account contract, screenshots of her defamatory posts, and copies of the emails showing she'd used the money for personal gain. The best part? Ben had quietly looped in a forensic accountant to verify every transaction. By the time we were done, the document was nearly 50 pages long. When we filed the counterclaim, the shockwave was immediate. Within 24 hours, Mom called. Twice. Then Claire. Then my aunt. I didn't answer. 2 days later, I got a text from my mother that read, "I can't believe you do this to me. After everything I've done for you." The irony was breathtaking. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the text to Ben. He chuckled when he read it. "She's panicking. Don't respond to anything she sends." So I didn't. But then, the second wave hit. Claire posted another status online, something vague but pointed. "It's always the quiet ones who betray you first. I guess money changes people." I could have ignored it, but this time, I didn't have to. Because Ben had advised me to document everything. Every post. Every message. Every whisper of slander. And once again, Mom played right into it. She began sending guilt-ridden emails. "If you drop the case, I'll talk to the bank about lifting the freeze. This is tearing the family apart. You're breaking your father's memory. Claire can't sleep because of what you've done." The last one made me pause. Not because it hurt, but because it confirmed something. She wasn't worried about the truth. She was worried about exposure. And that gave me an idea. I started making copies of everything and compiling them into a single folder titled Family Fund Documentation for distribution. It wasn't malicious. It was insurance. Then I reached out to one more person, my dad's old financial advisor, a man named Charles who'd handled their affairs years ago. He was in his 60s now, semi-retired, but he remembered my dad well. When I explained the situation, he sighed heavily. "Your father set that fund up for transparency," he said. "He wanted both of you to have oversight. I warned your mother not to make unilateral withdrawals. Would you be willing to put that in writing?" I asked. He paused. "If I have the original documents, and I think I do, yes." A week later, an email arrived with a scanned copy of his old advisory notes. One line stood out like it was highlighted in neon. "Advised both parties that co-ownership implies equal and unrestricted authority. Neither party may claim sole ownership or misappropriate funds for non-shared purposes. I sent it straight to Ben. He called 5 minutes later. Nathan, this is bulletproof. By the time the court date arrived, I wasn't nervous. I was ready. The morning of the hearing, I put on my suit, the one I'd worn to my dad's funeral. Lena squeezed my hand before I left. Whatever happens, you've already won, she said softly. When I walked into that courthouse, Mom was already there. She looked smaller than I remembered, sitting beside Claire, both dressed in dark, somber clothes like they were attending a funeral. My aunt sat behind them, whispering something. Mom glanced up when I entered. Her eyes flickered with something, anger, fear, before she quickly looked away. We didn't speak. When the session started, her lawyer launched into the same script she'd been spreading for months. How I drained the account, how I'd caused emotional distress, how my actions were malicious and financially damaging. I didn't even flinch. When it was Ben's turn, he rose calmly, adjusted his glasses, and began to dismantle everything point by point. He presented the signed account agreement, the financial records, the hidden withdrawals, the rehab payments, and the advisory letter from Charles. Each document hit the courtroom like a hammer. Mom's lawyer started to stammer. Claire looked pale, but Ben wasn't finished. He ended with a simple statement. My client has not only acted within his rights, but has, in fact, uncovered a pattern of concealed financial activity by the claimant. We are submitting a counterclaim for damages, defamation, and misuse of shared assets. The room went quiet. When it was over, the judge postponed the final ruling to review the evidence. Mom left the courtroom without a word. Outside, Claire caught up to me. Her face was pale, her voice low. How could you do this? She asked. I looked at her calmly. I didn't do anything. I just stopped covering for Mom. Her eyes welled up, but there was something else there, guilt, maybe, or realization. That night, when I got home, Lena was waiting on the porch. She didn't say anything, just wrapped her arms around me. And for the first time in months, I felt still. It wasn't over yet. The judgment was still pending, but I could feel the power shift. For once, I wasn't the one reacting. I wasn't the scapegoat. I was holding the truth. And when it finally came out in full, I knew it would hit harder than anything my mother could have imagined. Because I wasn't just defending myself anymore. I was dismantling the empire of lies she'd built brick by brick, one document, one receipt, one truth at a time. And soon enough, everyone would see her for who she really was. The judgment came down 3 weeks later, on a Tuesday morning. I remember it vividly because it was raining, one of those quiet, steady rains that seems to muffle the world around you. I sat in my car outside the courthouse, windshield wipers brushing rhythmically, trying to steady my breathing. Lena was beside me, calm as ever, her hand resting on mine. You ready? She asked. Yeah, I said, even though I wasn't. Let's finish this. Inside, the courtroom was half full. My mom sat on the left side with her lawyer and Claire, both whispering anxiously. Claire avoided my eyes this time, and Mom looked hollow. Gone was the smug confidence she'd had during the first hearing. She looked like someone who'd been awake all night rehearsing an argument that had already lost its power. The judge arrived, papers in hand. Everyone stood, then sat. His voice was even and steady as he began reading through the summary of findings. First came the dry formalities, the dates, the motions, the legal jargon. But then, the words that would change everything. After reviewing all evidence presented, including the account documentation, transaction history, and signed agreements, the court finds that the defendant, Mr. Nathan Cole, acted within his full legal rights as a co-owner of the shared family account. My chest loosened as if I'd been holding my breath for months. Furthermore, the judge continued, the court recognizes a documented pattern of unauthorized withdrawals made by the claimant, Mrs. Margaret Cole, which predate the disputed transactions by several years. These withdrawals were used for personal and third-party expenses without the defendant's consent, thereby constituting misuse of shared assets. The courtroom went still. My mom's lawyer shifted uncomfortably. Claire stared at the table, pale and unmoving. The judge kept going. In light of these findings, Mrs. Cole's claims of misappropriation and emotional distress are hereby dismissed with prejudice. The defendant's counterclaim for defamation and damages will be partially upheld, with monetary compensation to be determined. I didn't move. I couldn't. It wasn't victory I felt. It was something quieter, deeper. Closure. The judge set a restitution amount, $48,000 in damages, plus legal fees. But the money wasn't what mattered. What mattered was that every lie, every whisper, every accusation had been publicly dismantled. When the hearing adjourned, I stood slowly. My mother didn't look up. Her lawyer leaned in to speak, but she just shook her head, trembling. Claire followed her out, her heels clicking sharply on the tile. For a second, she hesitated near the door. Our eyes met. There was something raw in hers. Regret, maybe, or shame. She opened her mouth as if to say something, then lowered her gaze and left without a word. Lena squeezed my hand. "It's over," she whispered. "Yeah," I said softly. "It's over." But it wasn't really over. Not yet. The fallout came in waves. Within days, the news rippled through the family. My aunt texted me first, a short message that read, "I had no idea, Nathan. I'm sorry for believing what I heard." Then my cousin Hannah called. "They're not taking it well," she said. "Your mom's furious. She's telling everyone the court got it wrong, that you manipulated the evidence. But no one's buying it anymore." Apparently, the official court documents had spread through the family chat. Someone must have forwarded them. Once people saw the receipts, the pattern, the rehab payments, the whole facade cracked. For years, my mother had played the benevolent matriarch, the selfless caregiver. But when the truth surfaced, that she'd been secretly draining family money for her own use, people started reevaluating everything they thought they knew. Even her church friends, the ones who used to comment "stay strong" on every post, went silent. A few even deleted their comments. The public sympathy she'd built collapsed overnight. 3 days after the ruling, I got an email. The subject line read, "I don't know what to say." It was from Claire. She wrote, "I was angry because I believed her. She told me you were trying to take everything from us. I didn't see what she was doing. I didn't want to. I'm sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I hope you'll believe that I didn't know. Mom isn't doing well. She's talking about moving away for a while. I don't even know where she'll go." I read the message twice, then closed my laptop. I didn't reply, not right away, anyway. I didn't know what to say either. Over the next few weeks, life started to feel normal again. A new kind of normal, quieter, more peaceful. The house wasn't filled with tension anymore. My phone didn't buzz every 5 minutes with accusations. Lena noticed the change first. "You smile in your sleep again," she said one morning, half joking. I laughed softly. Guess my subconscious finally stopped arguing with them. With the settlement money, I didn't buy anything extravagant. I used it to set up savings for the kids, accounts in their names, untouchable by anyone but them. It felt symbolic, like breaking the cycle. Then, one afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hello." A pause, then a familiar voice. "Nathan, it's your mother." Her tone was fragile, shaky. "I wanted to call before you heard it from someone else. I'm selling the house," she said. "I can't stay here. People keep whispering. The church doesn't look at me the same anymore." I said nothing. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," she continued. I didn't think it would end like this. I thought I was helping everyone. I thought," her voice broke, "I thought I was doing what your father would have wanted." "No, Mom," I said quietly. "You did what you wanted and used Dad's name to justify it." Silence. She sniffled, then said, "Claire's moving in with a friend. I'll figure something out. Take care of the kids, okay?" I wanted to feel anger or vindication, but all I felt was tired. "Goodbye, Mom." I ended the call. After that, I didn't hear from her again. Not directly, anyway. Months passed. The seasons changed. One morning, Hannah sent me a photo of a real estate listing. My childhood home, up for sale. Empty rooms, stripped of furniture, no trace of the life that had once filled it. It was strange, seeing it like that. I drove by one afternoon, just once. The lawn was overgrown, the windows shuttered, the mailbox hanging crooked. For a moment, I parked across the street and just watched. The ghosts of my childhood seemed to flicker in those windows. Birthdays, dinners, fights, apologies that never really were apologies. Lena called me while I sat there. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said after a pause. "Just saying goodbye, I guess." "Good," she said gently. "Because you don't owe that house anything anymore." She was right. In the months that followed, life felt lighter. The kids thrived, school went well, work improved. The cloud that had hung over me for years, that invisible weight of guilt and manipulation, was gone. Claire and I exchanged a few cautious messages here and there. Nothing deep, just updates. She'd moved to a new city, started therapy, and was trying to figure herself out. I wished her well. As for Mom, word eventually got around that she'd relocated somewhere quiet, a small town near the coast. No social media, no posts, just silence. And honestly, that was fine by me. One evening, months later, I was putting Eli and Sophie to bed. Sophie looked up at me sleepily and asked, "Daddy, are we ever going to see Grandma again?" I paused. "I don't know, sweetheart," I said honestly. "Maybe someday. But right now, I think Grandma needs to learn some things on her own." Eli frowned. "Like what?" I smiled faintly. "Like what it means to treat people fairly." They both nodded like that made perfect sense, and I kissed their foreheads goodnight. After they fell asleep, I stepped out to the porch. The rain had started again, soft, steady, cleansing. I thought about everything that had happened. The lies, the silence, the courtroom, the years of bending backward for people who would never do the same. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was standing on the outside of my own family. I'd built something new, smaller, quieter, but real. Lena joined me a minute later, slipping her arm around my waist. "You're quiet," she said softly. I smiled, watching the rain blur the streetlights. "Just thinking about how peace looks nothing like I expected it to." She rested her head on my shoulder. "And yet, it suits you." I looked out into the distance one last time, toward the horizon where the storm clouds broke apart, faint sunlight peeking through. Then I exhaled and said, almost to myself, "Turns out, sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone. It's outgrowing them."